Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we are going to be looking at ARBITRUM. This is going to be looking at the higher degree counts, and then we will also be doing a video which will be doing the shorter term analysis, which can be found up above. So check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. So we don't have a lot of price history here. So we have from March 2023, and what we have is this big rise up here, and then we have this move to the downside. Now we were previously talking about that potential that we could look for extension here, but we actually took this low, so that has changed how I'm looking at this at the chart at the moment, and we are still currently within this channel. It is respecting this central channel line here, which is just a bit more evidence that this is actually aligning with this channel. Now there's a couple of ways we can look at this move. So we can potentially argue that this could be completed into this low, and there's a couple of ways we can look at that actually playing out, where we could actually say we have something like this, where this is W, X, Y, X, and Z. Now we're going to go over some of the reasons why I don't like this count. If we're going to argue this is actually what we have here, this X and this X are very disproportionate. Typically what tends to happen is these will be similar in size. Now it is possible, because actually if we measure this wave W and we transpose it down here from this X wave, we actually did come down very close to this 1-to-1. So what this could then mean is that either this is a completed move here, and then we're going to look to progress to the upside again, or alternatively, as long as we fail to break out of this 786 range at this 156, potentially we could actually see continuation to the downside, where this just becomes a bigger A, we get a B, and then we get this C wave to the downside. So we need to just be aware of that. There are other ways of looking at this, which are actually indicating we could see direct sell-off from where we are now, and we're going to go over those. But even if we did see something like this as an ABC, and even pushing back up into the top end of this channel here, we still have that potential that, because we don't have a lot of structure here to work with, we need to just be open to the alternatives. There could be something like this, and then we could see another move to the downside in 3 waves, where this just continues to drag down here. Okay, so if we are saying that this is actually completed into this low point here, what we could have is a couple of things here. So we could have this where this actually becomes A, this becomes B, and then we get this C wave to the upside. Now, the key thing within this is we'd actually be looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'd be looking for this as a 3-wave move to the downside. Target area would be this zone here of this $1.06 to this 97-cent region. Now, in validation of this continuing to the upside in the way that we have it marked out here, would actually come by crossing this 90.75. Now, if we are looking at this as a potential, our 1-to-1 to the upside is actually up here towards this $1.3886. So if we are looking for that possibility of continuing to the upside here, we could actually look to find support in this box before if we push down one more time here towards this 1-to-1 at this 105, and look for this C wave to the upside. So this would be looking at this potentially as a zigzag. Now, the alternate way we could look at this is that this could be a more impulsive move, where we could actually have this as 1, 2, we have this as another 1, and then we could actually treat this as a flat correction for a 2. Now, the reason that I don't like this count is because the secondary wave 2 would be bigger than our primary degree wave 2. So this is not very common for this to happen. It can happen sometimes when we get an extension in the wave 3. So we need to just be on the lookout for this. Potentially we could see something along these lines, but what we'd be looking for here, if we want to argue this is a flat over here, we need to hold this 109, and then we'd need to see a 5-wave move developing to the upside here. So given our current target here, we could be looking for this 1.618 at this $1.46 level as our confirmation. So we'd want to see a 5-wave move up here and hit this 146 if we are looking at this direct push to the upside here. Alternatively, if we did have to come back down and this was getting more complex, saying that this was A, B, and C here, and then we have a connector wave and another 3-wave move, as long as we actually hold this 98.25, this could be a count that is viable. Although, to be honest with you, if we do get something like this and we drag down like that, it becomes more likely that this is actually our A wave here, and that this is going to be our B wave, and then looking for that C wave, or alternatively our 1, 2, and then we see that bigger push up for wave 3. So this is going to be key. What I want to see for this is, if this count is in play, I want to see this low maintain, and what I want to see is price start to push to the upside directly from here, looking for that 3rd wave target. Now, if we did see something along these lines, we could potentially see a push up towards this 164 to this 155, provided that the waves play out exactly as I have them over here. Now, we could also argue that within this count, this could just be corrective. Now, we could say that we just have this as an A wave up here. We're getting this as ABC over here, and then we could be looking for, once again, that C wave to the upside. We have come down to this 236, which would be a very rare target for a wave B, but we can get this sometimes if we're going to get a running flat. The thing we'd have to be cautious of here that is if this is A, this is B, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this, it could actually be that this is an expanding flat, and we could actually look to target out lower down in this target box area, but somewhere between this 50%, where we'd be looking for this 103 all the way down to the 786, which would be this 95, 92. So this, once again, the invalidation of this potential for continuation to the upside like this would come only by crossing this 90 cent 75. As long as we stay above that level, potentially we could still look for this C wave to the upside here. So this is looking for that potential to see price actually look to break to the upside here, still looking for, you know, continuation up here before looking to break down. Now, once again, the same idea is still viable for this one. If this is ABC into here, we could actually get a move up, and then we see another move to the downside, and that would look something along these lines. We would be looking at this as a W, this is an X, and then we'd be looking for a Y wave. Now, if I overlay these two charts, we can see that 1.618 of this W wave, if we did move up into this zone here of this $1.21 to this 116, could look to align us with coming down into some of these lower levels. If we had to take it off of our current level and we directly broke down, 1-to-1 would actually be here at 109. So that would be bringing us back into this 236 area. But ideally, I'd like to see this come down a bit lower. But like I said, you know, if this is a running flat, it has technically done enough for it to actually complete and could be looking to start to build a 5-wave move to the upside. Okay, so that is looking at the potential of having that upside come in. There is also potential here that we could actually just directly break to the downside. So we're going to go over a couple of those potentials here. So what we could also argue is that this is just a 3-wave move here for an A, and then what we have is this is A, B, and C. Now, if this is the case, we could actually have a flat correction here. And if this is a flat, what this could mean is that we're actually going to see this C wave start to develop to the downside. Now, if we're looking for this potential of seeing a C wave develop to the downside from where we currently are, the target we'd be looking for compared to this A wave length would actually be this 1-to-1 typically, which would be sitting here towards the 69 cent region. Alternatively, if we did see this fall short, what we could actually see is this 0.618 come in here as a minimum requirement, looking to actually hit this 86.59. Now, some other targets would be the 786 and this 854 that we have down here, but typically speaking, we're going to be looking for somewhere between this zone. We really want to cross this 0.618. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to say that we are going to actually have that C wave completed. Now, if we are looking at this as a C wave, potentially what this could look like is something like this, where we actually have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, invalidation for this would come by crossing 124. If we do, however, reject down here, what from our current level here, our 1.618, which should be our typical 3rd wave area, would actually be this 95.73, which would then be looking for a 4th and a 5th, which could potentially push us down towards 94.04 to this 91.38 level. So this is looking at this as a flat correction in the middle here. Now, the key thing here is that I'm saying that this is A, B, and C, but this could also be WXY. If we get this as A, we could get a 3-wave move up and then see something like this. So we get 3, 3, 3, and that would be a WXY correction. So gonna have to keep an eye on this. The C wave would be the first one that would be able to be invalidated, so that's why I'm saying I'm looking at that one first, but it is possible that it could be a WXY to the downside. Now, another way of looking at this would be treating this move slightly different. So what we'd be saying within this structure is that we have this as a W, we have this as an X, we have this as an A, and instead of looking at this as a 5-wave move to the upside, what we could then argue is that within this sequence, we could possibly subdivide this differently and say that we have something like this, where this is W and A, B, C here. This would be a B wave, and then we'd get a C wave. Or alternatively, this could be W, X, we get A, B, and C. But it would be more likely to me that if we're going to look at this in this way, you know, that this is an A wave completed to the downside here, what we'd then be saying is that this whole move up is corrective. And if we see a 5-wave move to the downside, what we could then see is a target looking for this zone of this 1-to-1, which would actually be the 7110. However, we do have this 0.618 up here, which would be a minimum requirement we'd be looking for this Y wave, which we haven't met. So we could potentially argue that this Y wave's over here, but I don't like that because the time difference between this W wave and this Y wave would be disproportionate. And it would make more sense that if this is going to be a Y wave and this is an X wave here, we have this as A, B, and then we still see one more drop to the downside. So given our current level here, we did come up to this 854 zone. So, you know, as long as it continues to respect this high, we need to be careful of that potential of a bigger breakdown here where we get a 5-wave move to the downside. So our 1-to-1 of this would actually look to bring us into this zone of this minimum requirement. We can see that the 1-to-1 of this is A, B, and C would actually bring us down to this 8854 level, and that would align with this 0.618 of the Y wave that we have here. So this is why I'm just keeping an eye out here. If we start to break down in a 5-wave move, what we could see is that this happens where we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This extends out a little bit, looks to take that low and hit that 0.618 level of this 89-cent region. I really want to see this get hit if we see another breakdown here, but you know, technically, as long as it's somewhere in the range here, it will be acceptable. But I like to really see this 0.618 actually get hit for more certainty within the move. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some other things here. So looking at the current structure that we've got here, we do have some naked points of control, which are quite interesting. So we've got some which are just a little bit above us here towards this zone of this $1.21. So if we do see price move back up here, I would be interested to see if we sweep this level before looking for continuation down. Alternatively, if we look to actually push directly down here, we do have these lower naked points of control sitting at this $1.01 and this 95-cent region. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. If we are incomplete here and we see this as a flat correction here, and we look for another push to the upside, I would be keeping an eye on this 131 level. This, we have a weekly naked point of control in this zone, and then higher up here we have these other daily naked points of control, which price could be gravitated into. So now another thing I want to discuss here is looking at this move to the downside in a fib channel. So what we can see here is that we have actually rejected perfectly off the 0.618 line here. Now what I want to see is that, you know, if we do start to break down here, and if we're looking for that idea that we could see a 3-wave move down looking to find support from this area, we could potentially look to retest this 236, this red line lower down here. And that could align with that idea of actually seeing a deeper retracement here before looking for that continuation to the upside. If we start to lose this zone as support and actually come back under it and start flipping it into resistance, what we could actually see is that idea of that 5-wave sequence pushing us down into some of those lower levels. Now, as well as this, we can see that if we look at this speed resistance fan here, we can see that we actually rejected off of this blue line here. And what I want to see is aligning with coming back down into this red line here. Even if we do move slightly through this, potentially what we could do is find support along this next speed line, which is sitting here towards this, directly below us, towards this 98-cent region. So that $1 level is going to be a key zone. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. If we do see price move down into these levels, could be quite an interesting zone to keep an eye on. Now, as well as that, we're going to just have a look at some zones here. So treating this as a range, this whole area here, we can see that prices actually come back up here, and we've gone into this value area high, and we've moved down, and now we're rejecting off this off of this point of control. Now, if price fails to get back above this, potentially what we could see is price be gravitated back down to this value area low. And if we lose that, potentially we could see price come back down to these lower levels here. We can see there's a little bit of a volume node here towards this $1 region once again. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how we react if we do look to move down here. If we're looking for that bullish standpoint, we would be looking for that possibility of seeing a 3-wave move down here, and then looking for that continuation to the upside. Alternatively, you know, it could also be that we just get something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, we get support temporarily, come back up, retest these levels, then get rejected. So it's going to be something we're going to have to just keep an eye on if we do move down to those levels. Now, also looking at this entire area as a range, we do have this value area low slightly below us at this 109. So if we do see price move down into this range, the lower area of this range, what we could do is potentially look to find support here if we're going to look for that continuation up. Alternatively, if we did have to find support where we are and maintain this low and start to push to the upside, I would be interested to see how we react towards this value area high here. You know, there is this swing high which is sitting aligned with this, and potentially if we throw this channel on, not really at the moment, but if we saw this drag out something more like this, where we actually come back down and see something like that, potentially this would then align with coming into that area of this value area high. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this as time progresses. Obviously, these values will change as time goes on here, and particularly on this one where we're looking at the entire range here. So we just need to keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you'll find a link to Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.